it's Amy Donaldson with Amy D Coaching, and today we're talking about love letters. These wonderful, warm and fuzzy letters that buyers write to sellers. So there's three main topics that I see come up, and it's a source of huge debate, which is always my favorite topics. So number one is, should you use them? Number two is fair housing, and this is probably the most heated and the most important part, because this is really, that fair housing, it deals with our license. Everything else is just best practice. And so third is, do sellers even care? So on should you use them, I'm not a big fan of shoulding on anyone. So I'm going to just give you, kind of my opinions on them and let you decide whether or not it's something you want to build into part of your real estate practice. I personally love them. I know that when my clients write letters to the sellers, I fall in love with them even more. Oftentimes there's pieces of the letter that are things I already knew, but there's almost always something in there that I didn't. I learned something about my clients, and it's usually worded in such, and of course they're putting their best foot forward. I would avoid using recommend to them that we avoid using the phrase, "from the moment I walked into your house," because I get tired of reading that phrase, and when it's on every single, it just makes it feel like a form letter, but which is just kind of a funny little quirky nuance. So the benefit there's a couple of different benefits. From the buyer side, it really does make them feel connected to you, and it does make them feel like you're doing a better job for them and really, working hard to advocate for them. So here's the most important thing about about these letters is that your client needs to write it. As a realtor, you should never, ever, ever be the one writing it. And here's an interesting nuance. You don't ever want to be taking information from that letter and copying it or regurgitating it or sharing. That information is still confidential. If they're saying, we're a young family, we come from this place, our children are this old, we're this type of a couple, either we're a same-sex couple or we're a married couple from such and such a background or whatever, all of those details about your clients are confidential. So if they've written a letter to the seller and you're passing that along, that's fine. You can't later take that same information, share it with another, oh, my clients are a young family, they just had a baby, blah, blah, blah. You can't be sharing that information just because they shared it with this person. So that's an interesting little nuance that you need to be very clear about and very disciplined about. They have full authority to share anything about themselves that they want. You do not. If they've written a letter to this client, you just have permission to pass it along to this particular other party. So, and they can give you permission, they can give you permission to share it with everyone, but you need their written permission in order to share personal facts about them. So the second thing I want to talk about is fair housing. Now, I'm not a fair housing attorney. If you have any question about anything that I'm about to tell you, I highly recommend that you go verify it with a fair housing attorney. So this is just my understanding and of how fair housing applies to real estate. We are bound to certain fair housing rules because we have a license. Our buyer and a seller, they don't have a license. Also, fair housing does not prohibit, or not just fair housing, but the anti-discrimination laws, it doesn't prohibit people from sharing information about themselves. What it prohibits is it prohibits discrimination in favor or against protected classes. So as the real estate agent, we're not even making decisions on our client's behalf, right? But the seller, they've enlisted the help of a licensed realtor. They cannot discriminate against or in favor people of a particular faith, people of a particular age, or with certain familial status. So if they are looking at multiple offers, say they've got 4 offers on the table and the prices are all very similar, they can't look at them and say, read the letters only and not the offers, which I can't even imagine this happening, right? But here's what would be a fair housing violation. They read the letters, they don't read the offers, they see that, oh, this particular offer is a family. These three are not families, they don't have kids. So we're going to go ahead and go forward with this offer. So now we'll read all the offers. If this wasn't the highest price, we're going to pick the price and counter them at that price. But because they're a family, this is the one that we want. That's a fair housing violation. When you start making decisions based on, and not just based on information in the letters, based on protected classes. There are very, very specific protected classes. So the fact that you grew up in a home, or someone grew up in a home that was this same architectural style, is not a protected class. Or the fact that just your story warms the seller's heart is not a protected class. So this is what I generally see when I'm presenting multiple offers to the sellers is, and there's letters attached, and usually there's letters attached to, 2/3 of them, but not all of them. The sellers usually do read the letters. They usually enjoy the letters. They do not usually make a decision they're all warm, fuzzy, wonderful. I mean, everybody has a lovely, lovely story to tell. So in my experience, they're still going to go with the best offer. They usually look at the offers first and then kind of read the letters after they've made their decision. And in my experience, it serves to help make it a nice transaction, right? That these aren't just numbers and terms, that behind each of these offers is actually, human beings with a story. And, so if you've seen a picture of their dog at the beach, pet ownership is not a protected class, by the way. But it does tend to help humanize the whole experience. So as you move forward with the transaction, they tend to go more smoothly because the sellers, what most sellers want, first and foremost, they definitely want the best price for their house. And that's all they're going to tell you. What they really want is they want to sell their home to someone who's going to love it and enjoy it just as much as they did. People make wonderful memories in their home. And these letters definitely give them that sensation. So personally, I love those letters. I've come across many listing agents who say, oh, I don't even show them to my clients because I don't want them to be swayed emotionally. I feel like they don't tend to get swayed emotionally by them in terms of their, they still know they're selling their house. It's a huge financial decision. It's usually already an emotional time in their life. I don't feel like that tends to affect their decision making, but it does tend to improve the tone of the transaction. It's an interesting thing because from a risk management standpoint, most attorneys and managing brokers are going to tell you, don't use them. It makes them nervous because they are afraid of the fair housing implications. They are afraid that, you're going to end up selling the house to the one couple that happens to be the same religious affiliation as you, and the others either weren't or they were, but they didn't communicate that. And, as long as that actually was in fact also the best offer on its own merits, I think you're going to be fine. I personally haven't seen buyers try to make that type of decision. Now, if you are dealing with a client who has made statements that concern you, so if you have a client who has made racist statements in front of you or sexist statements or statements that really make you think they might be prone to making decisions, based on that, then I would use more caution. So know your audience. But at the end of the day, I think that, and when you're presenting offers and having the conversation, if they start indicating, these people are a nice Christian family and these others, I don't know. And that's when I would stop the conversation and say, explain to them fair housing rules and discrimination. And if they're still wanting to make a decision based on something that's a protected class, call your reviewing broker or your managing broker. Get them involved. Either get your company's attorney involved and figure out the best path. Because, you're still going to need to present the offers and move forward. So at that point, you're in enough of a pickle that you want to reach out for help and make sure that you are conducting yourself above board and in a way. So there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. Love letters, I'm a fan. If you want to send me a little bit of love in the comments below, feel free. Share your experiences with me.